Some doors should never be opened again, especially the ones that lead straight back to the pain you fought your whole life to escape. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe. My name's Julia Foster, and at 32, I thought I'd finally built the kind of life my 9-year-old self used to dream about. A steady career as a data analyst in Orlando, my own cozy apartment overlooking the skyline, a small circle of friends I trusted, peace, stability, and quiet. But the thing about peace is it's fragile. It can shatter in seconds. Mine did, one ordinary autumn evening with a single knock on my apartment door. When I opened it, I froze. Standing there was my mother, Marie Stone, the same woman who'd walked on me and my dad more than 20 years ago. And beside her, a young man slouched against the wall, his phone glowing in his hand. My half-brother, Caleb. She smiled like no time had passed. "Julia, my sweet girl," she said, her voice syrupy and rehearsed. "It's been too long." Too long? She hadn't called, written, or cared since I was a child. And now she was at my door, uninvited. I stepped aside cautiously, still trying to process her sudden appearance. They walked in like they belonged there, like my home was just another stop on their list. Her eyes scanned my apartment, my polished furniture, framed degrees, and view of downtown Orlando. I could almost see the calculation behind her smile. Growing up, I learned early that survival wasn't about comfort, it was about resilience. When Mom left, Dad and I were living in Ohio. He ran a tiny diner off a county road, the kind of place that smelled of coffee and fried eggs 24 hours a day. He worked from sunrise to midnight, trying to keep the lights on and food in the fridge. Most nights, we failed at both. But he never complained. He'd sit across from me after closing, exhaustion etched into every line on his face, and still find the strength to smile. "Julia," he'd say, "you can do anything you set your mind to. We might not have much, but we've got each other." When I turned 13, I started helping, babysitting, cleaning houses, stocking shelves, anything that brought a few extra dollars home. I'd slip the money into his jacket pocket when he wasn't looking. He'd always find it and scold me, but secretly, I think he was proud. Those years forged me. I learned to outwork the pain, to study harder than anyone else, to build walls so strong no one could hurt me again. And when I got that full scholarship to study data analytics at a state university, it felt like an escape, like breathing for the first time. College was a blur of early mornings and late nights, juggling classes, 2 jobs, and the endless fear of falling behind. But somehow I made it through. By 22, I had a degree, a few scars, and an offer letter from a tech company in Florida. That was the start of everything good in my life. Fast forward 10 years. I was thriving. Senior data analyst, leading projects, earning a salary that once felt unimaginable. I'd started sending Dad $500 every month just to make things easier. He fought me on it at first, but eventually he'd smile, accept it, and say, "You've done good, kid, real good." But Mom, every year on my birthday, she sent a card. Always the same. "Happy birthday, hope you're doing well." No call, no warmth. Just her handwriting, cold and detached. So seeing her now, standing in my living room after 20 years, felt like a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. She started with small talk, how proud she was, how much she'd missed me, but her eyes told a different story. They weren't filled with love. They were scanning my world, measuring it. And then she dropped the bomb. She said, "I heard you're doing really well, Julia. Your job, the company, good money, huh?" She glanced at Caleb, then back at me. "Your brother's starting college soon. Tuition 60,000. We just need a little help, maybe 3,000 a month to get by." I blinked, certain I'd misheard. 3,000 a month, I repeated. She nodded as if it was nothing. Family helps family, right? My stomach twisted. Family. That word didn't belong to her anymore. Caleb finally looked up from his phone, smirking. "Nice place. Kind of small for someone making big bucks, though." His sneakers were on my coffee table. His tone was dripping with entitlement. He was just like her. I forced a smile that felt more like a wince. "I'll think about it," I said quietly. Her expression hardened just for a second, then smoothed again. "Good," she said. "We'll talk soon." As they left, she hugged me tightly. I didn't hug back. That night, I barely slept. The air still smelled like her perfume, expensive, cloying, fake. Every memory I'd buried started clawing its way back up. Her laughter as she left with another man. Dad sitting alone in that diner, his hands trembling over unpaid bills. The empty birthdays. Why now? Why after all these years? And how did she even find me? The next morning, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Lunch, noon, the café on Main. Let's talk about family." I should have ignored it, but part of me, some stubborn, lonely part, wanted closure. Maybe I needed to hear her side once and for all. So I went. The cafe was packed, sunlight pouring through the windows, chatter bouncing off every wall. I spotted them in the corner. Mom, with that same polished smile. Caleb, glued to his phone, scrolling, uninterested. I sat down. Mom reached for my hand, her eyes wet with fake tears. "Julia, I tried to stay in touch. Your father made it impossible. He kept you from me. I wanted to see you so badly." Her voice trembled, perfectly timed. But I knew that script. I'd lived through it before. "Dad begged you to visit. You never came." She blinked, caught off guard for a moment, then recovered. "Well," she sighed, "it's all in the past. What matters now is Caleb's future." Caleb finally looked down from his phone. "Yeah, I need a car for college. Something decent, maybe a Mustang." He shrugged. "And a new phone. This one's trash." I nearly laughed. They weren't even pretending anymore. "You're asking for a car, a phone, and 60,000 in tuition." Caleb rolled his eyes. "You're loaded, Julia. What's the big deal?" My jaw clenched. "This is not about the money," I said. "It's about the fact that you only show up when you want something." Mom's smile cracked. "You're so selfish, Julia. I gave you life. The least you can do was help your family." Her words hit hard, but not because they were true, because she still believed she could guilt me into obedience. I pushed back my chair, my heart pounding. "I don't owe you anything," I said, my voice shaking but firm. "Not after what you did to us." Caleb scoffed, muttering, "Figures, Dad was right about you." I froze. "Dad?" He smirked. "Mom's husband. He said you'd turn out greedy." And just like that, I saw it clearly. Every word, every tear, every family plea, it was manipulation. Mom's voice rose, anger flashing across her face. "If you'd reached out, things could have been different," she shouted.
I stood. You left when I was 9. You didn't reach out. Don't rewrite history. The cafe fell silent. All eyes were on us. I didn't care. I'd spent too long swallowing my pain to let her twist it now. I'm done, I said, grabbing my bag. As I turned to leave, her hand shot out, gripping my arm. You'll regret this, Julia, she hissed, her face hard and unfamiliar. I pulled free and walked out, my heart hammering. Outside, the Florida sun was blinding, but all I felt was cold. But I had no idea that wasn't the end. That night, there would be another knock on my door. And this time,
When I shut that door on her, I thought I was closing a chapter. But I didn't realize she'd already started writing the next one behind my back. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe. That night, I was curled up on my couch, trying to clear my head. The cafe scene kept replaying in my mind. Her voice, her anger, her hand gripping my arm. For the first time in years, I felt small again, like the scared little girl watching her mother walk away all those years ago. But this time, I wasn't that girl anymore. I reminded myself, I built my life, my peace, my success, alone. I was halfway through a late-night Netflix show when the doorbell rang. I frowned. It was past 11 p.m. I checked the peephole, and my blood ran cold. It was Caleb. I cracked the door open just an inch. Caleb? It's late. What do you want? He looked nervous, almost panicked. Look, I didn't know Mom was going to flip out like that, he said quickly. She's not thinking straight. I narrowed my eyes. Why are you here? He shifted on his feet. She said she was going to your job tomorrow. Said she'd tell your boss what kind of ungrateful daughter you are. She's angry, Julia. Really angry. My chest tightened. She's going to my workplace? He nodded. She found out where you work, from Facebook or something. I stepped back, the world tilting. I hadn't even realized my company page was public. Caleb, this is harassment, I said sharply. If she comes near me or my office, I'll call the police. He looked away. You don't get it. She's serious. She said she'd make you pay for embarrassing her. My hands trembled as I closed the door in his face. The next morning, I woke up to chaos. My company email was flooded with messages, subject lines screaming, urgent, complain about employee behavior, unprofessional conduct, Julia Foster, HR request, external report. I opened the first one. It was an email sent to my manager from Marie Stone. She claimed I'd stolen money from my father, lied about my family background, and abandoned my disabled mother. She attached photos, childhood pictures of me, cropped and edited to look like evidence of abuse. And she CC'd the entire HR department. My vision blurred. My body felt numb. I called HR immediately, my voice shaking as I tried to explain. Thankfully, my boss, Mr. Ramirez, had known me for 5 years. He listened quietly, then said, We'll handle this, Julia. Don't worry. Just send us any proof you have. Proof. That word echoed in my head all day. Proof that I wasn't the monster she painted me as. Proof that my success wasn't built on lies. By evening, I couldn't sit still. I drove to Dad's house, 2 hours away, hoping for comfort, for grounding. When I walked in, he was in the living room reading the paper. He looked up and smiled softly. Hey, sweetheart, what brings you here? I sat beside him, tears welling. Dad,
She found me. His expression darkened instantly. Marie? I nodded. She came to my place, brought Caleb. She's trying to ruin me, Dad. She emailed my boss. He sighed deeply, rubbing his temples. I knew she'd come back when she found out you were doing well. That woman never wanted family. She wanted control. He stood up and went to his desk, rummaging through a drawer. Then he handed me a worn envelope. Inside were divorce papers and a restraining order from years ago. He pointed to the date, 2005. He said she tried to take my savings back then, said it was for you, but it was for her boyfriend. I had to get the court involved. I stared at the documents, my hands shaking. Why didn't you ever tell me? He sighed. You were too young, and I wanted you to remember the good things about her, not this. My eyes burned. There were no good things. He placed a hand on my shoulder. Listen, sweetheart, you've built something she can't touch, unless you let her. I nodded, wiping my tears. That night, I scanned every document, every photo, every proof, and I sent them to HR with one final note. This woman has no legal or familial claim over me. I'm done letting her control my story. Days passed. No response from her, no more emails, just silence. Until the fourth day when a certified letter arrived at my apartment. It was from a law office. My pulse spiked. I tore it open. It was a legal demand from Marie Stone, claiming I owed her retroactive parental support for raising me. She was suing me for $150,000. I laughed in disbelief. She was insane. I immediately called the lawyer listed on the document. When I told him who I was, he paused. Oh, Miss Foster. We actually withdrew from her case this morning. She was caught falsifying documents. I froze. Falsifying what? He sighed. She submitted fake tax records and fabricated receipts. We reported it. I thanked him and hung up. For the first time in weeks, I exhaled. She was unraveling, and I wasn't afraid anymore. 2 days later, my doorbell rang again. This time I looked through the peephole and saw 2 police officers. My stomach dropped, but when I opened the door, they smiled politely. Ma'am, we're just here to inform you that Marie Stone has been taken into custody for attempted fraud. You're listed as the affected party. I felt the air rush from my lungs. It was over. I thanked them, closed the door, and sank to the floor. Tears streamed down my face, not of sadness, but relief. For the first time, I wasn't the scared daughter. I was the woman who finally took her life back. A week later, a small package arrived. No return address. Inside was a simple note. Handwritten. Shaky. It read, I never wanted to hurt you. I just didn't know how to let go. Mom. I folded it quietly and placed it in a drawer, because some doors, once closed, should never open again. Sometimes the people who should protect you are the ones you need protection from. But healing starts when you stop running and start choosing yourself. If you found this story powerful, don't forget to like, comment, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, peace isn't something you find. It's something you fight for.